The Sunday Signal, issue 45.
The Army has become the liability. 15th of March 2026. Welcome to the Sunday Signal. I am David Richards. This week I want to start with two numbers. 45,724. That is how many tech and AI jobs have been eliminated or reported for elimination in 2026 so far. We are not yet through the first quarter.
And 25. That is how many employees Cursor had when it crossed $100 million in recurring revenue. 12 months, no marketing spend. A product so good that developers simply bought it themselves.
Those two numbers are not unrelated. They are the same story told from opposite ends. This week, I have three stories for you. First, my Yorkshire Post column. The one-person unicorn is coming, and most business leaders still do not understand the scale of what is heading their way. Second, the mechanics. How AI native companies have automated engineering and go to market entirely, and what that means for every organisation still built on the old headcount model. Third, the toolkit, the exact software stack these companies use, verified, and what the whole thing costs per month. I'm also launching something new today. The Sunday Signal Tech and AI Layoff Tracker is now a permanent weekly section. The data has been building since February. It now has its own space every Sunday for as long as this wave continues. Let us get into it. The bottom line up front, 45,724. That is the number of tech and AI related roles eliminated or reported for elimination in 2026 so far, according to tracker-based estimates from Rational FX and layoffs.fyi. We are not yet through the first quarter. 25 employees, $100 million in recurring revenue, achieved in 12 months with no marketing budget by a team of engineers and founders that would not fill a typical company's finance department. That is what Cursor looked like when it hit a milestone that once implied an entire mid-sized company. That is not a curiosity, it is a warning. This week's issue has three parts. First, the Yorkshire Post column, the one-person unicorn is coming, and most business leaders still do not grasp the scale of the change. Second, the mechanics, how AI native companies are replacing headcount with agents in engineering and go-to-market. Third, the stack, the tools making this possible, and why the cost of testing a serious company idea has collapsed. And from this week, the Sunday Signal adds a permanent new section, the Sunday Signal Tech and AI Layoff Tracker. The numbers demand it. Atlassian cut 1,600 roles on March 11th. Block cut over 4,000 in late February. WiseTech cut 2,000. Amazon is rolling through 16,000 corporate positions. In every confirmed case, management is making the same strategic bet. Fewer people, more automation, more AI leverage. In every confirmed case, investors responded by pushing the share price up. Block surged 25% on the day. WiseTech jumped 11%. Atlassian rose between 2 and 4%. The market is not mourning these jobs, it is pricing in the leverage. I've been building to this section since issue 40 on February 8th. The data has been accumulating week by week. It now has its own space every Sunday for as long as this wave continues. Story 1. The one-person unicorn is coming. This is the column I wrote for the Yorkshire Post this week. 25. That is how many employees Cursor, the AI-powered coding company, had when it crossed $100 million in recurring revenue. 12 months, no marketing spend. A product so good that developers simply bought it themselves. I have spent 3 decades in technology. I am not easily impressed by revenue milestones. That number stopped me cold. To understand why, remember what £100 million used to imply. A conventional software company reaching that threshold would typically employ between 400 and 800 people, sales teams chasing pipeline, customer success managers defending renewals, marketing operations tracking attribution, layers of middle management coordinating it all. I have run businesses at that scale. I know what that machinery costs to assemble and to maintain. Cursor made much of it unnecessary. And it is not alone. ElevenLabs closed last year with more than $330 million in ARR. Sierra, founded by Brett Taylor, hit $100 million in ARR in 7 quarters. Midjourney has shown that an AI native company can reach extraordinary revenue with a team most corporates would still regard as dangerously lean. The exact ratios vary. The structural shift does not. That is not incremental improvement, it is structural change. These businesses were not built as conventional organizations. They were built as automated loops. Work that once required 200 engineers is now directed by a handful of senior people orchestrating AI agents that write, test, and refactor code. Customer support that might have required 100 staff is handled by reasoning systems that check usage logs, interrogate billing records, and issue refunds without human intervention. Midjourney does not operate a traditional sales force. It does not need one. Credit card in, product out.
Revenue scales, headcount barely moves.
The underlying shift is agentic AI. Earlier AI systems summarized and suggested, useful but passive. The current generation executes. It builds the feature, runs the tests, deploys the update, and handles the complaint. It chains decisions together and improves through feedback. When you map that capability onto a company's cost base, it does not look like a new tool. It looks like a redefinition of what a company actually is. For 30 years, growth meant hiring. Hiring meant cost. Cost meant capital. That logic shaped everything, from venture funding to office design. Now we are watching leverage detach from labor. My view is that we are perhaps 18 months from the first genuine one-person unicorn, a founder directing a fleet of AI systems to build, market, and operate a billion-dollar business. That sounds implausible. So did the idea that a global software company could reach 9 figures in recurring revenue with fewer than 25 people. When I started in this industry, launching a product required racks of servers, specialist contractors, and months of burn before the first customer invoice. Cloud computing collapsed infrastructure. Modern frameworks reduced development friction. No-code tools shrank teams further. Each wave removed a reason to hire. Agentic AI may remove the assumption that you need a team in the traditional sense at all. That should concentrate minds. Every business leader in this region faces the same uncomfortable question. Are you building for the world that existed 5 years ago, or the one arriving at speed? The unicorns of the next decade will not be defined by the size of their workforce. They will be defined by the scale of their leverage. The army, in many cases, has already become the liability. Story 2. This is how they are actually doing it. The question everyone asks next is straightforward. How? The answer matters because these companies are not using AI as a feature bolted onto a conventional business. They have built what the industry now calls an AI native architecture. The distinction is fundamental. In a traditional company, the software is a tool and the people do the work. In an AI native company, the agents do the work and the people set the direction. The result is that human employees have become the bottleneck, not the engine. A small team of senior architects, a fleet of agents executing, no meetings required for the agents to coordinate. Here is how it plays out in the 2 departments that consume the most headcount in any growing technology company. Software development, the agentic fleet. In a traditional company, developers write code. In an AI native company, developers direct agents that write code. The directional numbers are striking. Reports from inside companies like Cursor suggest that a significant proportion of the pull requests merged into their product are now created by autonomous AI agents running in the cloud. A small team of architects defines the problem, sets the constraints, and spins up fleets of agents working in parallel. Far fewer junior engineers are needed for repetitive structural work. When a bug is detected, an AI agent automatically creates a virtual machine, reproduces the bug, writes the fix, and presents a recording of the fix to the human architect for a 30-second approval. The industry has coined a term for the developer working this way: vibe coding. A developer describes a high-level intent, make the checkout flow handle crypto, and send a Slack alert. The AI then manages the thousands of lines of code required to make it happen. The developer never touches the implementation. The revenue trajectory tells you what this produces. A traditional SaaS company at £100 million ARR employs around 500 people, generating roughly £200,000 per head. Cursor has crossed $1 billion in annualized revenue at a scale of headcount that would once have looked absurdly small. Lovable reached $100 million in ARR within 8 months of launch and has continued climbing fast. The point is not the exact spreadsheet ratio. The point is that AI native companies are scaling output far faster than headcount. The difference is not better engineers. It is a different organizational architecture. To put a number on it, the agentic fleet replaces roughly 150 to 180 junior and mid-level engineers who would otherwise be responsible for boilerplate code, manual testing, and bug fixing. Marketing, programmatic growth. Traditional marketing is people-heavy because it requires constant content creation, manual outreach, and complex attribution tracking. Lean AI companies have replaced this with what researchers call autonomous growth loops. 3 techniques dominate.
First, AEO, or answer engine optimization. 1 or 2 people use AI to ensure their product is the top recommendation when a potential customer asks Chat, GPT, Gemini, or Perplexity for advice. They do not write blog posts for humans. They build knowledge graphs for AI. This is rapidly becoming the 2026 version of SEO, and most marketing teams have not yet understood it exists.
Second, content atomization. Instead of a social media team, agents take one piece of source content, a founder's technical talk, say, and automatically produce 50 or more localized videos, posts, and ads, each adapted for different markets and platforms. A single piece of original thinking becomes a global content operation without a single additional hire. Third, the invisible sales force. Midjourney and Cursor have scaled to hundreds of millions in revenue with no traditional sales force. For companies that do need outbound, AI agents now monitor the web for trigger events, a competitor raising prices, a target company hiring aggressively, and automatically generate personalized demos or sequences for every affected prospect. No sales development rep required. In headcount terms, this replaces 40 to 60 staff across marketing operations, SEO, content creation, and sales development. One GTM engineer now does the work of an entire traditional marketing department. The combined picture is stark. In engineering, a traditional company at 100 million ARR employs 150 to 200 people. An AI native company uses 10 to 20. In sales and marketing, 100 to 150, down to 2 to 5. In support and customer success, 80 to 100, down to 1 to 3. Total headcount at a traditional company, 400 to 800 people. At an AI native company doing the same revenue, 12 to 50, up to 750 roles replaced. Story 3. The exact tools they use. The research is now deep enough to be specific, based on verified implementations documented across a 16Z speedrun, CSAT-TR, growth unhinged, and company disclosures. Here is what ultra-lean AI companies actually deploy and what it costs. The single most important principle before the tools. The most successful lean companies consolidate aggressively. 5 to 10 core tools rather than 30. Every additional tool creates coordination cost and cognitive load. The savings are reinvested in AI agent quality. For sales and prospecting, the dominant documented pattern is a 3-tool combination. Apollo for prospecting, with 270 million verified contacts and a free starting tier, into Clay for data enrichment, into Instantly for delivery at scale. Clay itself has crossed $100 million in ARR and sits at the center of nearly every documented lean GTM stack. It is to modern GTM what Salesforce was to the previous era. Its waterfall enrichment sequentially queries 100 or more data providers to maximize contact coverage. OpenAI's own GTM team used Clay to double contact coverage from 40% to 80%. Rippling used it with hiring data triggers and doubled cold email performance year on year. One GTM engineer running this combination can manage thousands of personalized prospects per week. For CRM, Attio, free to start and £29 per user per month, is the documented recommendation from the A16Z speedrun minimum viable stack. HubSpot free tier for maximum accessibility and zero commitment. For content and marketing, ChatGPT and Claude serve as foundational writing tools. Midjourney, Runway, and Canva AI combined eliminate the need for creative hires entirely. Typefully handles lean social publishing on X and LinkedIn. For customer support, Intercom Fin has become the default AI support agent for AI native companies. Fin, powered by Claude, resolves 51% of queries on average without any human involvement. Gamma uses it to resolve 75% of queries end-to-end for 50 million users. Anthropic itself chose Fin over building its own support agent. Discord runs alongside Fin as the community hub. Midjourney built its entire business on Discord, 2.7 million members serving simultaneously as distribution channel, support platform, and product interface. For product analytics, PostHog has emerged as the consolidation play, replacing Amplitude, LaunchDarkly, Hotjar, and Segment in a single platform. Free tier includes 1 million events per month. For automation backbone, N8N, pronounced N8N, has over 178,000 GitHub stars, is self-hostable, and starts from £50 per month. It handles the workflow automation that once required a dedicated DevOps team. For AI agent orchestration, LangGraph handles complex agent workflows with cycles, conditionals, and state persistence. Crew AI, which raised an $18 million Series A and runs over 100,000 agent executions per day, uses a role-based model for multi-agent coordination. For no-code orchestration, Lindy.ai positions itself as AI employees with pre-built templates for sales, support, and recruiting.
What does the whole stack cost? CRM and pipeline, £0 to £150 a month. Data and enrichment, £100 to £600. Outbound delivery, £30 to £100. Email marketing, £0 to £50. Website, £5 to £40. Product analytics, £0 to £100. Customer support, £100 to £500. Automation and agents, £50 to £200. SEO, £80 to £160. Social, £0 to £30. Meetings free. Total, between £400 and £3,000 a month.
For under roughly £3,000 a month, a founder can now assemble a surprisingly capable commercial and operating stack. That does not guarantee a £100 million business. It does mean the cost of trying has collapsed. The final insight from the research comes from Lenny Richitsky. Your job as a founder is to become world-class at one primary growth engine before layering anything else on top. The tool list above is not a shopping list. Pick the single motion that fits your business, build it, own it. Only then add the next layer. The Sunday Signal, Tech and AI Layoff Tracker. Since issue 40 on February 8th, I've been tracking the acceleration of tech layoffs. Issues 41, 42, 43 and last week's issue 44 each added more data. The scale now demands a permanent weekly section. From this week, the tracker runs every Sunday.
In the first 11 weeks of 2026, major tech companies have announced or are developing cuts totaling approximately 45,724 roles, according to tracker-based estimates from RationalFX and layoffs.fyi. The unverified and developing stories suggest the real figure may be considerably higher.
But the raw totals are the least interesting part of the story. The patterns are what matter. Pattern 1. The AI pivot premium is real. The market is explicitly rewarding companies that announce they are cutting people to fund AI investment. Atlassian cut 1,600 roles, 10% of staff, on the 11th of March, and the stock rose approximately 4%. Investors cheered the pivot from growth at all costs to AI efficiency. WiseTech Global cut roughly 2,000 roles, 30% of staff, to replace manual coding with AI native workflows. Share price up 11%. Block went furthest. Roughly 4,000 roles eliminated in a massive shift to AI-augmented lean teams and to reverse what the company described as the 2018 to 2024 bloat. The result was one of the largest single-day market cap gains in Block's history, up approximately 25%. The signal is clear: investors are not mourning the jobs. They are pricing in the leverage. Pattern 2. The SaaS crisis is emerging. Not every company is being rewarded for its AI pivot. Workday cut 400 roles in customer operations in February. The stock is down around 40% year to date. The reason is not the number of cuts. The reason is investor fear that agentic AI will not just assist Workday's enterprise software. It may make the software itself unnecessary. If developers stop writing structured HR workflows and instead describe what they want to an agent, the vibe coding model, then the value of a heavyweight enterprise HR platform collapses. Investors are beginning to ask whether tools like Workday remain as indispensable in an agentic world as they looked in the last software cycle. This is the deepest structural risk I have been writing about since issue 40. The AI disruption is not symmetrical. Companies building AI infrastructure are gaining. Companies that were built on the assumption of human cognitive labor are the ones in danger. Pattern 3. Rumor versus reality. Not every number circulating in tech forums is confirmed. Meta has reports of potential cuts affecting more than 20% of staff circulating internally, with no formal announcement and no SEC filing to date. Oracle reports suggest potential large-scale cuts are developing. No official confirmation has been given. Treat both as directional signals until they appear in a regulatory filing, not as settled facts. Amazon is confirmed. 16,000 corporate role reductions, framed explicitly as management flattening and a reallocation of $37 billion to AI compute and infrastructure. That one is in the numbers.
Pinterest cut 675 roles, approximately 15% of staff, in a January to February cycle to pivot from a high-cost social platform to an AI-driven discovery engine. Stock down 3.5% on the initial reaction, with recovery building as AI targeting optimism grows. Autodesk cut approximately 1,000 roles, 7%, to reorganize around AI-driven generative design tools. eBay has confirmed approximately 800 roles, 9% of full-time staff, in a strategic realignment.
Figures and market impact data are based on reports available as of March 14, 2026. Tracker estimates sourced from Rational FX and layoffs.fyi. Developing stories without warn notices or SEC filings remain unverified. Stock changes are immediate short-term reactions. Final thought. The army, in many cases, has already become the liability. The one-person unicorn is not a thought experiment. It is an engineering problem, and several people are very close to solving it. When I started in this industry, launching a product required racks of servers, specialist contractors, and months of burn before the first customer invoice. Cloud computing collapsed infrastructure. Modern frameworks reduced development friction. No-code tools shrank teams further. Each wave removed a reason to hire. This wave may remove the assumption entirely. The question is not whether this is coming, it is whether you are on the right side of the shift. That is issue 45 of the Sunday Signal.
The army, in many cases, has already become the liability.
I do not say that to be dramatic. I say it because the data is saying it. Investors are saying it. The founders building these companies are saying it with every hiring decision they do not make. The question for every business leader listening to this is not whether the shift is real, it is whether you are positioned for the world that is arriving or still optimizing for the one that is leaving.
If this issue made you think, share it with one person who needs to hear it. If you are listening rather than reading, the full issue, including the layoff tracker, the tool stack, and the complete analysis, is at newsletter.djr.ai. I write a weekly column for the Yorkshire Post covering the same territory, and if you want to go deeper on any of this, reply to the newsletter. I ill read it.
Until next Sunday,